Welcome back to Archer's Garage, guys, and we're back with another machine. I did a cleaning on this one. We're just going to take a quick look at it. So my buddy Mike that delivers all these things to me, bought it from him, and you know this is all jammed up, everything is filthy, it's all stuck. You know, this is a really nice example of a basic machine, an old Murray that's in pretty good shape. It's a 22-inch body, it's a big body, it's a very simple mower, very inexpensive, but pretty heavy duty. It's got the smaller 3.5 horsepower, you know, some of the original style engine design of the flathead. You know, it's a little crappier, you know, but it's all here, and it's in pretty decent shape. And even the under chassis is pretty nice. Let's see if we could just take a quick peek at it. So I cleaned it up already. Look at that. It's, you know, that's not bad. Okay, that's not bad. Even the blade is halfway decent. I think this has got a little bend on it over there. We may be able to straighten it and reuse it. Okay, so it's got a bend in the blade, you know, but it's nothing really bad. It's more on the tip. So this is an example of a quickie down and dirty. The body's in good shape. The paint is still there. A good cleaning and Scotch-Brite and a little clear coat, and I think it'll look great. So let's get the carb off. We're going to evaluate it. We'll check everything out. We'll go through it, and this is an example of about I'd like to get $60 for this, because I paid $10, I'll make $50, and we'll make much on it, but you know, maybe I can bundle it with something else. I don't know. I got a guy looking for a cheap lawnmower, and you get a lot of guys out here on Long Island that they move in a rental scenario. They're required to take care of the property. They don't want to spend any money. They just need something that's going to work. And especially at the beginning of the season, if I can get them into something now, and a 22-inch would be great. So very little time spent, almost no money on this machine. It shouldn't need much more than a really good cleanup and a good tuning and just a good lubrication. And let's get it out the door. And let's see how it pans out. Let's take a look at a few things here. The carburetor and the gas tank. So I took them apart and I cleaned them already. In here there's the normal junk that you find in there, and you can see there's a little bit of pitting. And it's almost like there is a sort of a residue of oxide, aluminum oxide, which is, you know, the kind of rust that you see on oxidation, you know. And inside there was a little bit. So what I did was I cleaned it out, degreased it, and then I put my acids in there. You know, the stuff that I like to use. You know, the stuff that etches auto body that I like, and put that in there. You slosh it around for a little while. You know, I rinse it out with the hose, and I put it over on the heater and let it sit. So we're just going to polish this surface off, and then I'm going to cover it, that and this, with some tape, and then we'll paint this thing and we'll stick it to the sides. We'll do that now. And in here you can see, all of that. It's a combination of varnish, and because there was water in the tank, you know, it's also oxidized. So, and you can scrape them. So what we're going to do is we're going to clean this off, degrease it, and I'm also going to put some acid on that and let it sit. And you know, the acid it's going to work this calcium deposit. It's kind of like a calcium deposit in a way. That'll work it up. We'll get it out of the way. The gasket came off in good shape, but this is what you see of the diaphragm, and you can see the spring is really pushing on it, and it's deformed it. But it's not so much this area here, it's these areas here. See the damage to the, let me put the cigarette over here. See the damage to, these are valves, basically, and those are like flapper valves, and once they get beat up like that, they're no good. Alright, so I'm going to work on the tank. Basically, every time you take one of these type of jet carburetors, a Pulsar Prime, Pulsar Jet, count on replacing the gasket and the diaphragm. Alright, the blade's a little bit bent, so I drew a little line here. You can't really bend these things back. So what I did was I used a little bit of heat on here. Just a little bit. Don't turn it red, okay? Because it's spring steel. It won't like that. You'll screw it up. It looks pretty good to me. I did push it in a little bit. I used the acetylene torch just to settle in. And I want to go check it. So but I sharpened it. It looks a little bit better. This is a little bit up, but this is parallel. This is pretty parallel. So let's check it on the machine. It's, you know, again, this is a $50 machine, right? There's not a lot you can do with something like this. I'm not putting another blade on it because I don't have the money. So I'm just going to check it. There's no money in it. So people have to understand that, you know, when you're buying a $50 machine, you're not going to get very much. But anyway, find a spot, and I'm going over here. And I can just, oh yeah, that's much better. Oh yeah. And I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Oh yeah, that's much better. It's hot. So let me get this out of my hands. And I'll show you what I mean. It's smoking my glove. It's hot. It's something that gets that stuff hot quick. Oh, I don't want to burn myself. Alright, let me get... I'll show you what I'm talking about. So, essentially, if you see here, I picked a spot. And you can kind of see where I'm going with it, right? Okay? But it wasn't like that before. And it's just about... It was sticking out quite a ways. So you're going to get a really bad cut. That's so much better. Alright? Alright, so I'll be back in a bit. One less thing to do. Alright? It's what shops are for. You fix stuff. Alright, getting ready to put it on. So yeah, it cleaned up nice, you know. Toothbrush, bristle brush. It's about as good as it's going to get. Now, these are the old gaskets, and you can see how beat up that is, and like I was showing you before, but look at that, you know, it's just perfect when they're new. So that's what you want to put on there. And this I cleaned up with a wire brush. I just use like a stainless wire brush because there's a lot of that powder on it. And if you want to finish up a little Scotch-Brite, put the diaphragm down first, right, and then put the gasket down, and then the carb, right, and just make sure your spring's on there. And put it together and bolt it together and screw it up. Screw it up. So, let's try to get it in there. Alright. So I'm going to go do this. And I already started painting up the motor. And I wiped down the deck with a little bit of thinner. I put it on the rag first because otherwise you'll pull off the paint. This is painted. So, it's already starting. I didn't finish painting the motor. I just started spray painting it. And that's fine, okay? And if you get some drips or whatever, it doesn't matter. I bent the blade back, so we're going to put the carburetor aside. I'm going to brush paint that, and I'm going to brush paint the bottom there, and then we'll slip the carb on, we'll paint around it, bolt it up. And after I get the motor together, we'll check the ignition. After I get the motor together, we'll put that on, and we'll finish painting it. And then this part will be done for tonight. And then I'll clear coat it. I don't have to red paint this. We'll clear coat it when we're done. We'll just wipe any little bit of overspray that I get, or drippies, alright, we'll wipe it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And then tomorrow we'll finish it. Alright, we'll start it, we'll run it, we'll do any adjustments and oiling of the cables, and we'll oil the wheels, and we'll make sure everything else is clean. And maybe I'll spray a little bit of paint, or maybe now I'll brush a little paint on the handle, and it'll make it nice. So I'll be back in a little bit, guys, and we'll see how this works out. I remember my friend Mike said to me the recoil wasn't working, you know, now that I look, I just checked it, and you can see this is the ball style, recirculating ball, and it gets stuck, it gets jammed. So you got to take the balls out, you got to take this off, you might take the whole thing off and clean it really good, and then re-lubricate it. It's jammed. Oh yeah, it's not going anywhere. It should spin. Okay, so let me get to that, and I'll show you what I do with that. But you got to take it off. Okay, so basically it just gets cooled up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to clean this out, and we'll put some fresh grease in it, and I'm going to wash this out in some of my solvent. Now you can take the whole thing off if you want, but this is mostly just a little bit of grease and junk in there. But I'm going to wash this out because that was just stuck. So we're going to wipe all that down. I'm going to clean out that. We'll clean the balls off. We'll put a little bit of grease back on it again, and a little bit of oil, and then we'll put it back together, and this will be done. Alright? And that's really all you need to do. I'm going to take a little bit of my lacquer thinner and mineral spirits, and use whatever you want. You can even just use WD. and I'm just going to work it in and around, and I'm not going to get carried away with it because there's no reason to. It's not that bad. It's just a little sticky. And they do this. So you don't want too much grease on it because the balls will stick. Your balls will get stuck. So it's a very light grease. You could put a little white grease in it. You don't want like a big bearing thick grease. Just enough. That's all you need. A thick grease will screw it up. So this I'm going to go take it over to the thinner and we're going to clean that up. Alright? I'll be back in a bit. Okay, we're ready. Alright, so I just want to show you. Now, see that there? Let me put this down. Let me put my balls down. Okay. So now, that's all cleaned out. Now, there's a little felt tip that goes to the bottom there, which is at the top, and that's why there's a hole. So what you want to do is you want to lubricate this up. Alright, so you can put a little white grease here, but mostly just put your oil in that. So we're just going to put a little oil on that. And that's all you need. Just fill that tab up with oil. That's what's going to keep it moving. I cleaned it out in some solvent. And what we're going to do is we're going to put that down there. Okay? And you see what it does is it really does a nice job. So we're just going to put a little bit of oil up here. And that's all you need. And if you want, you can put a little bit of white grease in a few spots. Only white grease. Don't, like I said, don't use any kind of heavy grease because it won't work. This won't recycle. The white grease will, but you don't really need even that because you really don't. You can see how well it spins. That was jammed. And a lot of times if they're left out, they'll lock up that you won't get them off. Almost impossible. Get your balls in there, one in each slot. Okay, then put just a little bit of oil on this. That's it. Okay, that's basically your cover. Push it down, and now what holds it? It's a very simple system. What holds it is the screen. I think this one had 2. Sometimes they have 4. This one had 2. Maybe somebody lost the others. So just put this back down. And that holds it all together. And it's getting tight. Just snug. If you really want to hold it on, you put a little Loctite. That's it. So, you see? See? See how it works? See, it's grabbing it. I can't turn it because it's hard. But alright, that's it. And you can hear it. Alright, that's it. And that's what was wrong with the recoil. Alright, that's all that was wrong with it. Alright, so now we can move on to the next step. So we got the carb done, carb is on, we got oil removed out of it, we got a little bit of paint on. I'm going to put the cover, we're going to check the Magneto next. So we'll just take this off and we'll do a quick test on the Magneto because we want to clean it. And I want to clean over here too on the magnet, so I want to make sure that's all good. And we'll put it back on and we'll check it. So I'll take that off right now. And this is another point where you put a very light lube on it, on your governor wing. Just pull that out of the way. A little bit on that shank. And check this stuff. Always check it, because this is a little bit loose. And another thing you want to check, too, and I say this a lot of times, is the intake tube. It's got bolts that hold it down, and make sure they're tight. And a lot of times this is metal, that one's a little loose. And that'll be a vacuum leak and it won't run right. But especially the plastic ones. And I'll show you what I'm talking about in case you don't know. That guy right here. Tighten him down by hand. Every machine I do gets that before I close up. Alright, so I'm going to test this coil, and I'm going to clean it and make sure it's okay, because it's all nasty in here. So I'm going to wire wheel it. We're going to test it and see if it's any good. And if it's good, I'll clean off the contacts here, I'll clean the magnets, we'll put it back and we'll adjust it to 10,000ths. Make sure I oil it up. Also, you want to clean in here sometimes, because I use a little acid on that and a Q-tip. And I'll be back in a bit, and we can put the top on. I want to lubricate the spring pulley and everything on the top recoil, and then we'll put it down. Another thing I want to put in is a little oil on this whole mechanism here. Okay, so when you pull it in, it just works a little bit better. I've already put a little oil on this. If you want, you can take out the cable and put some grease in it, but this one I put some oil in, and it feels like it's okay. So I'll be back in a bit. Okay, I did a quick clean up on it. Look at how nice it is. Right? It's nice and clean. Like I said, it's a laminate, so it's got to have something. Hopefully you can see that. So primary, which is with the plug part, and of course I clean the steel part where it mounts to the body. And you can see 3.125K. They go about 5, 6. When they get above about 5, they start to get crappy. But when they start wandering and they're all over the place, they're bad. And also, you want to go to the ground lug, right? 3.122. It should be very close, a little off, or identical. There is nothing wrong with that coil. In fact, it's actually very low. It's a very good impedance. So, oh, there's my dog out there. Anyway, so this is good. Let's put this on, and let's get it set up. Sorry for the noise. The air compressor's on. Let me just lean over here, and I'm just going to wire. You can't see it because I got the camera facing this way, and there's the band here. They're using a band brake. So let's just clean the Magneto, the magnets for the Magneto first. I just give them a quickie. Just to get all the junk filled up on them. I generally clean off the whole. When there's a break, I'll clean off everything. And that looks pretty good. Okay, that's just a quickie. And I'm going to take a little bit cleaner on my rag. And in this case, I just use my two-stroke coil with the training fluid and stuff in it and everything, and I just give it a wipe because that's all you really need to do to get off the yuck. And that leaves a little bit of an oil on it. You can see all the junk you get off of it, because you don't want that, you know, getting between the coil. All right, now get these wiped off. In fact, let me go get my wire brush, because that's the ground. So normally I do it with the speed wire, but let me just get the regular wire brush. I often forget to do it with the drill, with the wire brush on it, but you could just use this. All right, just use this and just make a few passes over it. You want to make sure you're getting a good contact. All right, that's what you care about. So let's just kind of pull this out of the way. Now the coils, this side out. A lot of times they say that, cylinder side. And a lot of times they'll say that, so be mindful of that. And just because you took it off and it went a particular direction doesn't mean it's the right direction. Alright? Now again, I'm going to put a little bit of light lube on it, and in this case again I'm going to use... I'm sorry I move so fast, but when I'm doing this stuff, I tend to. Again, I'm going to be using the two-stroke mix that I have, because it's got light oils in it, especially the tranny fluid. Which tranny fluid is great because it has a same thing with this, the other one. And again, I do that because it has the light lube. The tranny fluid is got detergents in it, so it works really good. just hand tighten them. This way that sucks into the magnets. Alright? Now it's a little harder on this machine because there's not a lot of room. The flywheel is so much smaller. But I take my 10,000ths brass gauge and I just kind of drop it in there, and then I rotate the magnets around and let them suck in. Hear it? That's it. See how it sucks in? And it's nice, it goes right through. And then we'll take the wrench, wherever I put it. Did you guys see what I did with it? It's getting late, so here it is. And just cinch it down. By hand. And choke up on it. I use quarter drive because you do not want to snap this. Remember, let it relax a little bit. It's why I lubricate it, because these are laminate steel, so they have to crush together again. And that's why I blow them out, clean them off real good, and lubricate them. It allows me to get this nice and tight, so it's not going to loosen up. So just to review, now let's get my 10,000ths feeler gauge back, and I guarantee you that will spark. We still have a plug to do, but we'll do that tomorrow. I'm going to lubricate this area a little bit. We'll put another drop up in here. I'm going to lubricate. It's always a good idea to clean these out, and I do. I clean them all out, and then put some of the lubricant oil up and around here, because here how dry it is, right? I'm telling you, it'll work a lot better when you do that. Make sure there's nothing wrong with it. So I'm going to do that next. We'll put that on, and then we're done. So now, why do I always do the coils? Well, first of all, I don't want to put it all back together, and some of the machines are more involved when you put them together. So you want to put it all together and go, oh, no spark. That's the first reason. Second reason is, you wouldn't want to replace the coil with a new one, right? And then not clean the plug and not service the plug. And so it doesn't make sense to service the plug and not clean or inspect or replace the coil and adjust it, because they work together, and that's your ignition system, and there's electronics in here. So you want to make sure that they're working together, because a lot of times the hard starts or the poor running is not fuel, it's not carburetor. A lot of times it's right here in your simple ignition system, and it's just worth doing. Alright, so we'll be back in a bit, and we'll take it to the next step. Alright, it's looking good. I just want to spray some lube on this, and this was a little bent, so I'm putting in my lube into there. We're going to mount this over to here, and I'm going to go over and lube everything, and then we'll just wipe it off, and we'll spray it with a little bit of clear. In fact, if you wanted, you could spray it now, but when we're done, we'll just wipe it down real quick, and we'll spray it with a little bit of clear. Get all the wheels lubed, get the cables working, get everything adjusted, get it all lubed up, wipe it down a little bit more, because there's always oil dripping and whatever. I got the air filter cleaned out. Alright, put the gasket on. Let me do all of that, and then I'll put oil in it, we'll test it, get some gas in it. Alright, I just cleaned up the plug, just a little under 30 thousandths, and the plug clean does nice, and then I put a little bit of my lead plate on there, and you can use whatever you want, but I have that stuff. It's been sitting around forever, and yeah, it's lead, so what? I'm not going to eat it. Alright, so let's put that in there and get a few other things on, and we'll get some oil in it and get some gas in it, tighten up a few other things, and then we'll be done. What do you think? Put a little clear on it, wiped it down. Let's bring it outside. It's all ready to go. Alright, let's run it up, get it nice and tested, and it should be fine. Alright, a little bit of clear was nice. Didn't paint the top, and it protects the stickers and everything, and it'll keep it nice, and it looks nice for sale. Handle got painted last night, everything's adjusted. So let's wheel it outside and let's see what it does, and I gotta get some pictures of it, and we'll get it for sale. Alright, let's see if we can get it to run. I didn't really check the spark because it's really hard to do that with this type. Alright, we'll put a little fuel in it. And I don't know which way is fast or slow. So we'll put the throttle to mid. That way you don't have to know which way it's grounding it out or whatever. And it could be ground out. Because this may not be disengaging properly. So, and this is what I mean, when you pull it, right, those balls are getting stuck because I got a little too much grease on that. So you have to move them a little bit. Sometimes if you shake it, they'll go. Let's see. But once it starts running, that won't be a problem. Alright, so we know it's going to run. Alright, so we'll bring it outside, and the primer isn't picking up enough fuel yet, but you can see. So let's bring it outside so we don't smoke this place out. Alright? And I see a lot of people use different things. I just use Velcro. It's nice because it's reusable. Okay. Pull the bail back and do that. I have another carburetor There you go. Let it run. Got a great idle, right? Nice idle. Rev it up. Put the air hat on. Pushing the primer bulb in to fill it, you can see it does work as it started stalling. Okay. We're done, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll just do a quick walk around and see. I was pushing the primer bulb in to make sure that it's filling up and it's working, and you can see when as I was pushing it in, it started to create a stumble. So we know that's working. We're going to test it again, let it cool down a little bit, and we'll test it and get it started. But I think it looks real good, and thanks for watching. This is a real basic one. Just to recap, we had to just do some real basic stuff. We had a little bit of a bent blade, an oil change, tune-up, needed a good cleaning, and diaphragm gasket, and that's it. Alright, so thanks for watching Archer's Garage and Uncle Archer's Projects, and get ready for the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe and make a comment.